Welcome to Beyond Ocean and Maine, MCM's news magazine program. The Great Blizzard Special Hockey is a local organization that teaches kids with special needs throughout the South Shore how to play ice hockey.
We at Marshfield Community Media were able to get an inside look as to how the organization operates and how it impacts its students.
So the Great Blizzard's mission is our motto, which is no hockey player left behind. And that's what we are. We're a team for players that can't play on any other team due to cognitive, developmental, intellectual, or physical disabilities. So our players have autism, Down syndrome, Klinefelter's, Prader-Willi, cerebral palsy. But one thing everybody shares is anxiety. All of our players have anxiety, and some really bad anxiety. Some of our players have low self-esteem, so being a part of a successful activity goes a long way toward building their esteem, their self-esteem, being around other players, being a part of something bigger than themselves is important in their social development. So back in 2011, we met a person who asked my son and I if he'd be interested in playing special ice hockey. And from there, when we moved up from Northern Virginia to Plymouth, there were no programs close to us, so we drove 55 minutes to a program in Canton. We did that for 2 years, and another family was doing the same commute from Scituate. We had played with that family back in Northern Virginia, and so that gentleman and I said there's got to be a need for a program down here on the South Shore, and sure enough, we birthed this program. And the numbers don't lie. We have 40 players that are playing here. I lucked into a community that is a very tight-knit hockey community. I found the right people. I got some tremendous coaches who had followings. They come every week. They give everything they have in the hour that we're out here on the ice and off ice. But I also have assistant coaches as young as 10 years old from local high schools, middle schools, and I have adult junior coaches, or assistant coaches as we call them, that come out as well. And we empower these assistant coaches to help manage the program, to help work with our players on the ice.
So the whole process involved in this is we have our incredible assistant coaches that provide the on-ice coaching, and we also have head coaches that provide some of the skill level practices down the learn to play hockey. And together with those coaches, we're allowed to have kids step on the ice that have never skated before, and after a period of time can actually go from one end of the ice to the other skating. And then we bring them into playing hockey and teaching them the game of hockey. So it's a fundamental process of identifying their skill level or lack of skill level, and then developing that skills. And it starts with skating. And then from skating, it starts with stopping, and then next, the hockey stick, the puck, shooting, passing. So there's an evolution that is involved with taking a child onto the ice and teaching them how to skate first. And then they want to gravitate when they see the other kids down the other end playing hockey. And we've had some of them, just last week we've had one girl that was on the learn to skate, and she just skated down into the learn to play hockey area, and now she's part of this team.
So our big fundraiser of the year is by far the Boston Bruins alumni game. It attracts a great crowd. Every year we seem to grow out that crowd. So not only is it an event that raises needed funds, and hockey, as everybody knows, is an expensive sport, but it also is an awareness thing for our parents to watch their players do things they never thought they could do. They never thought their players could skate. They never thought they could play ice hockey. And it's interesting for me to be on the ice and see a player do something they've never done before, and look up in the stands and see a parent. And sometimes there's tears in their eyes because they're seeing things they never imagined. And I say, imagine the unimaginable, because that's really what happens out here.
My son Sean has Down syndrome. So when we saw the opportunity for him to be on a special hockey team with the Great Blizz, we thought it was fantastic. And we gave it a try. He barely could skate, but he really made tremendous progress over a short period of time, and it's just been a fantastic program for him.
Players just exceed expectations, so we don't even put limits on it, because that wouldn't be fair. We've had 2 players move on to youth hockey because they were fairly cognitively advance, and they got their skill set through us, and they graduated into accessing youth hockey, which it was sad to see them go, but it's like when your kid turns 18, they go off to college. You're so sad that they're leaving, but you're so happy that they're moving on to a new phase in life. You kind of feel like that.
So every week they come to practice, but Steve also organizes trips to the Providence Bruins, trips to the Boston Bruins. They're going to play at a special hockey tournament in St. Louis in a couple of weeks. Everyone's going to be flying out or driving out to St. Louis for this 2-day tournament. So there's all kinds of extra things that happen.
It brings such warmth and joy to me to see the kids on the ice just absolutely loving it and just having so much fun. Whether we set them up for a goal in front of the goalie and everybody's in on it, and the child hits the puck and it goes in the net and there's a celebration, everyone's celebrating. And to see that child just like so happy. You know, we're offering them something that they just don't have in their life, and that they don't have the ability to go into any rink and join any youth hockey program. So we offer that, and we give them that opportunity to enjoy and have a smile on their face for maybe at least one day of the week, maybe more, but we're trying to provide that here on the ice.
So we have players on the Great Blizz that have all different types of special needs, and they sometimes need support just physically, sometimes emotionally, sometimes mentally, but everyone comes together and helps each other here, has fun. Parents all support each other. When we go out and we do other events in the community, it's really fun because we all get to know each other, and in some ways, you know, our challenges are all similar, even though they're different. And so the group of parents and coaches and the children themselves have really become a fantastic community.
Marshfield High School's principal, Robert Keuther, announced that he will be retiring at the end of this school year.
Principal Keuther sat down with MCM to give us a retrospective about his time at Marshfield High, as well as to discuss the community of respect that he has helped to maintain.
You know, retirement's not an easy decision, and I would certainly say to you that making this decision is bittersweet, and that you know, I love my job, I love what I'm doing, but when I get right down to it, you know, I've always been pushing myself to be better and trying to be the best that I possibly can be, and feel like that it's now time for new leadership here, that there's a need for Marshfield High School to grow and continue to grow in a different way. And it's time for me to grow in a different way. So I'm not quite certain where that is or what that is. You know, 35, 40 years ago, felt called to work with young people and started working with young people in education, and have been just overjoyed with the work that I've been able, the people I've been able to meet, the kids I've been able to work with. And so I know that I'm going to be working with kids. I know that I'm still going to be investing in kids in some capacity, but just, you know, really felt that it was time for me to make a change, and it's time for our community to have some different leadership at the high school. So one thing about MHS that's different than a lot of places, historically a community that has had long-standing high school principals, all right, and individuals that have been able to impact their community in a major way. And so when I walked the halls when I got selected for the job with Peter Deftos, who had just finished 22 years as principal, right? You know, he looked at me and he's like, "So Keuther, just so you know, there's only been 2 principals before me in the last, 75 years." And I looked at him like, "Really?" Right? Well, that's actually accurate. The last 90 years, there's been four principals at Marshfield High School. Erickson, Romeo, were in the library named after him, Deftos, and now Keuther. So I had a good idea or thought that this could be a place that I could really establish roots and have a major impact community-wise, which is very exciting and has played out that way. So I think it makes Marshfield a significant place. When people ask me about, you were there 19 years, will that happen again? I don't know if that'll happen again, but I would say to you, if there's a place that's going to happen, it's here in Marshfield. That relationship is the most important part of this job, and that's not to say that I haven't had difficult conversations, plenty of them over my career, right? But always come to the table with our baseline, respect at the table, and to say that, we start first with respect and then we build from there. say that all the time, you're principal in the town that you live in, and I'm like, it's been the best. You know, there are times where I've had to establish boundaries. You know, you're on the soccer field, someone wants to talk to you about their kid, and you're like, look, that's a Monday through Friday conversation, right? I'm out here coaching my kid. I'm coaching my kid. I'm not talking with you about what's going on with your son or daughter, right? But not a lot of that. People are people in town have been pretty respectful of that, and I appreciate that, and thank you for that, Marshfield. But you know, the other side of that piece is that every day, every decision you're making is impacting the people that you do life with, and so I think that makes it really significant. And you know, I'd go back and say when we were promoting the whole building project, right? You know, people were like, you know, this is going to impact my taxes. It's going to impact my taxes, right? That I'm investing in something long range that's going to impact all of us, right? So it's been wonderful, and you know, I certainly, we are Marshfield. I am Marshfield. I'm part of Marshfield. So always an honor to hand any student their diploma. Being able to do that with my 4 children has truly been special for me, right? The fact that my four kids graduated from our high school is just amazing. If my kids were here, they would tell you a multitude of things that were great and a multitude of things that they didn't like, you know. But 2 of my kids were like, this is the best thing in the world, having you, Dad. I love to stop by and see you. You know, how you doing, Mr. Keuther? Stop in the office, Dad. It's good to see you. Can I have $10, right? All those things are just real things that happen. The fact that I'm in the know, you know, that I work hands-on with all of the members of our community, right? Sometimes is difficult for my children, right? They're like, why do you have to know everything? Well, that's my job, and quite honestly, it's good that I know those things. But overall, you know, when we sit and we talk about it, when I announced my retirement, before I did that, I met with them and told them I was going, and they were all like, wow, what's that mean? Well, how's that going to work? What are you going to do, you know? And for them, it was special as well. So tons of fun, had its moments, right? As you can imagine, it had its moments, but along the way, I think, you know, it's been great. When I started, you know, content was the most important thing, right? Everybody had to know that in 1492, you know, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? Now that really doesn't matter, right? I mean, it does, but, you know, with the device that's in my pocket, I can access any content within a millisecond and have an answer to a question that's content driven. So that transition from content to really being skills-based in our learning approaches, really being focused on, you know, can a student understand how to function and collaborate in a setting with diverse populations, right? Can an individual communicate effectively? You know, reading and writing is always going to be significant skills that you need to have, right? But, you know, do you have the ability to critically think, to create and innovate, right? All of those pieces that are now part, you know, if you look at our vision of the graduate here at Marshfield High School, they're all skills that a student has to have to be able to survive economically and to be able to survive in a learning environment that they're going to when it's you know, a college setting or a military setting or the workplace. I'm grateful for our central office leadership and town leadership that's given me the ability to do my job and to be able to have empowered me to lead the high school. Probably our biggest accomplishment is that, you know, year in and year out, we've hired quality people to work with our children each and every day. And so, you know, some would say, well, Bob, you know, you look at the high school, how can the high school not be your biggest accomplishment? And you know, the building is wonderful, and I could talk to you about the building, I'd love to, right? But I'm going to say to you that what happens every day in the classroom is the single most important thing that occurs in Marshfield each and every day as we get ready for commencement. I would hope that they would say that, you know, things that are important to me, that no one outworked me, right? That all of my conversations have been respectful, and that we've created a culture of respect. In Jerry Maguire, the movie Jerry Maguire, there's a scene where Cuba Gooding Jr. says to Tom Cruise, I want the Quan, is what he shares. And I've shared this with kids, right? I want the Quan, right? And then he goes on to say, well, what's the Quan? And then he says, the Quan is the respect of the community, and a community of respect. In the end, that's what we all want, right? And I'm hopeful that people will say, boy, Keuther's High School, no matter where we were, right, always modeled respect, right, and then created a community of respect, and that respect carried over to impact our world in a positive way. So it's twofold. One, I probably would leave deserved victory, right? Because I want whoever comes in behind me to know that the kids, the adults in the building, the adults in the community are looking for somebody to come in and continue to work as hard as they possibly can to make sure that this place is good for kids. And if that person comes in and does that, they'll be very successful. And that, probably the other piece is smile a lot. I love my job. If you don't love it, you shouldn't be in it, right? When I was called to be an educator 36 years ago, it was wonderful. It's 36 years later, and I was called to be an educator, and it's amazing, right? And the fact that I've had the honor, the good Lord gave me the honor to invest in young people's lives is significant. And to take that away and bring that celebration, I guess, every day to work is important, because I think it's A, contagious, and B, I think it also creates the culture that we're looking for.
The Goodwill Hunters organization was created from a desire to do something positive after the tragic deaths of both Angeli and Drew Hunter. Family and friends wanted to create a way to honor their lives that would be meaningful to the community in which they grew and flourished.
Board members of the organization, Jen Rosano and Kim Aruka, discussed with us the organization's founding and how Goodwill Hunters have helped the community of Marshfield since.
So the mission of Goodwill Hunters, our tagline is searching for goodwill in life, in our neighbors, and in ourselves. And the way that we manifest that is through support of other organizations on the South Shore. So we raise and collect funding and then distribute it out to other organizations that might be more in need of funding at that particular time.
We seek out nonprofits that have been tried and true, those that we trust and know that the services they provide are very needed. We also, on our mission, we want to raise awareness of those nonprofits. Goodwill Hunters was born in an effort to make something positive out of something so tragic. 13 years ago, my best friend Gail Hunter lost her daughter Angeli in an auto accident on the main turnpike. And 2.5 years later, Gail and Jeremy's son Drew passed away in a kayak accident in Colorado.
After the passing of both Angeli and Drew Hunter in 2006 and 2009 respectively, a group of us, friends and family, got together and just really wanted to have a reason to come together, something that was good, something that was positive. And it was sort of a brainstorming session to say, in the face of such a terrible tragedy, two tragedies, what can we do to sort of feel good again? And what was born from that was the idea of Goodwill Hunters and creating a nonprofit, or even just to start a group where we could, bring happiness and feel good with one another again, and sort of feel connected in a way that is separate from the tragedy.
I would say Goodwill Hunters is most well known for providing funds to community organizations. If you visit Ventress Memorial Library in Marshfield, for instance, and go into the children's room, parents can take out backpacks and they will see a tag on the backpack that it was donated. Those backpacks were donated by Goodwill Hunters. We're also big supporters of the food pantry, sowing seeds. We were very, very pleased to be able to help the senior center, the Council on Aging Center, this past year when they did their new renovation. That was one of our major donations. And we also, if you ever visit the South and North River canoe and kayak launch in Marshfield behind CVS, you will see a bench there. Recognizing Drew and Angeli and Goodwill Hunters, we provided funding for that launch.
So some of the ways that we determine whether or not we're going to support a particular organization, first we have to know it. We have to be familiar with it. We have to be made aware of it. And from there, once something's sort of brought to our attention, we have to make sure it fits with our mission. So South Shore based, And then generally, if it's a good cause that we feel is appropriate and that we are able to support, depending on how much funding we have available, we generally like to support, any organization that we can, and especially those that give back to the community we live in.
We talk to all of the nonprofits that we know. They help us find other nonprofits. We speak to our neighbors. People who are aware of us will give us a call, send us an email. Hey, are you aware of this group? They need some funding right now. And then we will do our due diligence. We'll do research. We'll talk to all of those nonprofits, find out what their needs are, what they're looking for. I would say that often we are most aware of the needs in our own community. However, we work really hard to branch out, and we try to cover the South Shore. We do have donations that come in all year round, and if we are aware of an area that needs funding right away and we have funding, we will try to help provide that funding. But typically, we raise our money at our signature event, the Duck Derby, in Wrexham Beach in Marshfield each year. And once we've had our Duck Derby and collect our funds, we put feelers out all throughout the South Shore. It's wonderful to be able to help your neighbors in need and to be able to walk to the beach going through the dunes and look at a snow fence and said, we helped make that happen. But I would say the greatest part of being part of an organization like Goodwill Hunters, or any organization where people find themselves volunteering, it's not the gift that you give to your community or to your neighbors. It's the gift that you receive. There's just no better feeling in the world than being able to give to others.
It's meaningful to each of us, I think, for different reasons. For me, it's meaningful that I still get to think about Angeli and Drew and Gail and Jeremy Hunter on a regular basis. I get to think about, how our interactions with them, it's lovely that we still get to have, a relationship, even though, the kids aren't here any longer, to sort of help facilitate that relationship. It's a relationship on its own. And that's really nice to think that I have built my own relationship with them and with others that are on the board that maybe I wouldn't get to be so close with them if I didn't have this opportunity, and specifically Goodwill Hunters, where we're hopefully doing something to improve the community that we live in, and that Drew and Angeli would be proud of us. I think Angeli and Drew would love the fact that this group is working together. I think they would get a kick out of their mom, meeting with their friends regularly and having conversations about the town and about them, and sort of keeping their memory alive. I think they would really like this.
The James P. Harrington organization, stationed at the Ferry Hill Center, exists to bring general wellness to those in need.
Programs and Events Director Katie Sheeran and others spoke with us about JPH's mission, as well as their impact on the lives of those who have participated in their wellness programs.
The James P. Harrington organization, it's a nonprofit organization, and we're dedicated to bringing equitable and affordable wellness programming to the South Shore community. Our mission here is to nurture individuals and families and provide a safe and healing place for wellness and connection. Wellness to me, it's whole health. Mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. It's a feeling of inner peace. It's, being able to connect with others.
The James P. Harrington organization got started because there were families in the community who felt as though there was a wellness initiative that was needed, part of it due to COVID, but just general community wellness was at risk. Ferry Hill Center is an incredibly special place where some people that are involved at JPH were volunteering here and had an idea to start this initiative. And this just was a natural place to do that because of its location with the views and just the healing nature of the property.
So we serve entire families in the South Shore. So the family unit from adults, teens, children. We do have a lot of women's programming, so we do focus a lot on women, but our mission serves entire families.
We have a variety of different programs, events, and services here. We have wellness, a wellness support group for women. We have a recovery group. We are also starting a support group for nurses. We do programming such as yoga, meditation, qigong, and those are either individual programs or set up as a retreat. The retreats always include healthy food and of course a wellness program, sometimes art therapy and different things like that.
When I came to JPH, I was greeted at the door by Diana and Katie, who I have known Katie for a while. I didn't know that she was a big part of here. And the first night that I came, it was a recovery meeting, and it was maybe 20 women. And I just felt, when I walked in the door, that I just felt at home. I can't explain the feeling, but when you walk in here, it's just this magical feeling. You just feel welcomed, there's no judgment, and I immediately got involved.
You know, a lot of people say that this is their safe place. When they walk in, they immediately just feel like they can take a breath of fresh air. They feel really supported here. They can walk in here and not have to pretend that everything's okay. You know, we're all in different places, and you know, some days people need extra support, and you know, it's kind of a connection that I've never seen before. It's really powerful here. We've had people come in and say that they've never really felt like they belonged anywhere until they came here to JPH, which is really remarkable.
It's incredibly inspiring to hear people respond so positively to what we're doing here and wanting to be part of it. You know, anyone that has been presented with the ideas of what we're doing here, even our partners and people who are involved in our advisory committees, they're all, you know, they're all incredibly interested in being involved and helping out in any way they can. And the people that come to the programs here again, you know, it's great to know that people are, you know, benefiting in such a positive way, and that, you know, we're actually helping people.
So JPH has given me quite a sense of purpose. I've been coming here for about 1.5 years now. JPH, I just feel like when, you know, I can always come here. If I'm having a good day, a bad day, an in-between day, I can just come here, and there's always, you know, Katie or Diane or someone's here. And you walk in the doors and your life just kind of gets a little bit better.
People have said that, you know, it's transformed their life. They feel like they're not alone. A lot of people have felt very isolated, especially since COVID, and they feel as though they've found where they belong. They also feel as though this place, when they walk in, it makes them feel peaceful right away. So that's again why we, you know, tie back the, you know, the property and the location of where we are to being so important in what we do.
Helping others that's everything. I think, you know, when you put your hand out and, you know, somebody's there on the other side to receive it, that's what this world needs more of, is people putting their hands out, helping others.
Sometimes people come to us at, you know, sometimes a pretty low part of their lives, especially people in our support groups. That can be anything from, you know, just general well-being, or someone who is, you know, in some sort of addiction phase, and they come here and they feel like they're not alone anymore, and that's one of the most important things about community, we believe.
I think, you know, a community is everything, especially after, you know, the pandemic. I think a lot of people did have that sense of isolation, and when you're surrounded by a community that's supportive and, you know, can help you on your journey, it just can make the biggest difference in your life.